got a major mistake. Too.
Boss is free.
Someone click. Please click.
Huh? Yeah, they got AoE. Maybe staying at bottom is better.
No, I think we let the mage come up. That was my bad. Zamzi messaged me. I'm like, telling him to come Saturday. It's just not today. I guess I'll just do the remaining guys.
Yeah, do that.
Oh no, it's gonna be tight. The timer might not work. You have to click, but don't do the last thing.
Yeah, I have it. I'm just gonna stand here.
How do I know? Where's the deal? I guess I can click it again, right? Because it naturally went off. Yeah, I can do it. Just leave it. So everyone ready? I'm gonna do the last thing.
Guys, let's get to the side.
Okay, here it comes.
They have a knob or two left. Get rid of them first, guys. Dragon spawn. Can't tell if he's running or not.
Flag. Let me come back there. Just icon. It should come back to me. Flag. It's not real good, bro. Oh, we got dumping blade.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the reason why I don't recommend people unboning here. You never know, there's like so much RNG.
Ain't running to the next room yet. Gara, Stabby, far side, me and Prez are picking here.
Look at this Whopper. Now look at this one. Does this Whopper make you want to buy that Whopper? No, you would feel lied to. And Burger King just got into some hot water because of it. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory, the channel where having it your way doesn't lead to legal ramifications. And I can't say the same thing about Burger King. Back in March 2022, 19 folks from 13 different states formed a class action lawsuit against Burger King, alleging that their IRL Whoppers don't measure up to the juicy, fresh, delectable-looking Whoppers in their advertising. They were saying the King is exaggerating the size of his meat. Men, am I right? They claim Burger King is using oversized meat patties and ingredients in their ads and menu displays to make it appear that the burgers are approximately 35% larger in size with nearly double the amount of meat. Now, if your first instinct hearing this was, yeah, duh, it's an ad, you'd be on the same page as most other judges that have thrown out similar cases over the years. I mean, what are Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's supposed to do? Use their real burgers for ads? No one would ever go back. But what makes this lawsuit notable is that the judge presiding over the case has decided that the claims might actually have some merit. Instead of throwing the case out like so many others have done, the judge is having it his way and making the King stand trial and defend his burger. So today, I want to look into whether or not his monarchy will crumble. Does it actually look like BK broke the law, or is this lawsuit just a greasy the fast food, fast cash grab. Like I mentioned, BK isn't the only fast food or fast casual establishment that's been hit with a lawsuit alleging deception. In May 2022, a man filed a lawsuit against McDonald's and Wendy's for unfair and deceptive practices due to false advertising in their ads and on their menus. The burgers, he claimed, were the most...
Hey son, there's 2 elementium on the melee side of the dragon. I don't know if you can grab them in case they despawn or something.
Okay. Everybody know what to do. We'll if you have the bomb on you, we'll call it out. You need to go there where we need to jump in, do as much damage, and take the portal. Let's make sure we have salve on every warrior. Till now we haven't needed a tank swap, so I don't think it's needed. So as long as the only danger is like a warrior pulling threat and so let's make sure everybody has.
It's running. Please give Pandy 2 seconds. I'll call on DPS for me. For all DPS for me. Start that. Once once the talking starts, we'll do it. Yeah.
Cypher.
That's cool.
Okay, keep going. Do your thing.
Cool. Helm of Endless Rage. That was my best part.
Good job. 2.4K! Ooh!
I had 2.6, but you guys couldn't kill it fast enough. I'll blame everybody else with me. Has ever got 100? Holy shit.
Diamond needs to be hibernated and Moon needs to be hibernated.
Guys, I can't.
It's fine. I'll just I'll try and tank both triangle.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Which one do you want me to?
Just pick one.
I'm facing Diamond Way.
Cheers,
Everybody on diamond, DPS on diamond. Okay, finish this. Go kill Moon. You can ship the captain. DPS on Moon. And the captain. quick. We have now only 30 seconds left. Can put a triangle there.
I'm gonna hibernate diamond this time.
Sounds good.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Nose is so burnt.
I'm taking this. That was Joey that just spoke, right? Joey Bonzo?
Sure.
Okay. My bad.
We marked shot last time. We'll kill Bone. I will call the captain. My captain.
Hey, didn't you see a warrior the other day that was like all in rubies but had that cloak?
Range go to range, man.
Not the right cloak, sorry.
Dude, I got so. That's ridiculous.
That's funny.
Jodhpur, do you have a funnel?
No, actually, not this week.
No worries. Minus 50 DK.
It's a really great character getting 13.
That's
Yeah, great. Yeah.
yeah, that's the second for mana and then things like that.
How they pulled the broom on that speed run was insane. Like everyone was just cleaving everything. That's just insane. Like, that buff is insane.
I mean, yeah, we can like respec. I mean, like I can like put more points on cleave and all of that. But I mean, we don't need it make here.
Yeah. Here's a shit ton of trash that I make you. Dear God. Thank you.
It's egregious, and accused Wendy and Ronald of undercooking their meat to make them appear 15 to 20% larger than the beef patties that were actually served to customers, since the fully cooked patties tend to shrink and look less appetizing. Likewise, Taco Bell was hit with a lawsuit by a guy claiming that they used double the meat in their photos and commercials during 2023, when certain ingredients, like meat, were struck by inflation, causing prices to go up, and customers still look to Taco Bell for a cheaper alternative. But the Mexican pizzas, Crunchwrap Supremes, and various other menu items appear to have significantly less meat, beans, and other fixins than they typically have. Starbucks was accused of skimping on fruit ingredients in their refreshers. Buffalo Wild Wings was accused of not using meat from a chicken's actual wing in their boneless buffalo. Subway was accused of using 200% less meat in their IRL sandwiches. And the list goes on. Oftentimes, like in the cases of McDonald's and UPDs, the judge will throw out the case, citing that the reasonable average customer would most likely not be misled by advertising. and that the images of food put forth by these chains were no different than other companies' use of visually appealing images to foster positive associations with their products. Translation: everybody exaggerates their product in ads, and most people know that. But the lawsuits against BK and Starbucks were allowed by judges to move forward, denying the respective establishments' motions to dismiss their trial. In the case of Starbucks, the judge determined that a significant portion of reasonable consumers would assume that all of their refreshers contained real fruit based on their menu signs and advertising. And it seems that the judge facing down the Burger King is heading down the same road. The lawsuits against B-Dub and Subway are still pending, but if Burger King and Starbucks are found guilty of deceiving their customers, we might start seeing a shift in how these false advertisement cases are handled. So what exactly is the line between deception and reasonable exaggeration? At what point does an appetizing advertisement become a straight up lie? And what are the parameters already in place to prevent these companies from going too far? To start answering some of these questions, it's helpful to understand the history of staging food for consumers' eyes. In the 1930s, color film photography allowed food to be captured realistically, almost exactly as it appeared to the naked eye. Advertisers started using color around this time in images of their products, and cookbooks began implementing colorful images into the pages of their recipes, bringing dishes to life that were formerly dull and black and white. Commercial food photography blossomed as a new career path, and companies found that their goods sold better when their customers could actually visualize what an all-American Thanksgiving dinner would look like. But it didn't take long for advertisers to realize that they could exaggerate a little bit to get consumers even more excited about their product. Food and beverage brands began implementing behind-the-scenes tricks to get the food in their images to look even better than the real thing, like swapping out melting scoops of ice cream in a dish for a thick hunk of mashed potatoes. Under a photographer's hot light, cold food would melt, lettuce would wilt, and hot food would lose its juicy, steamy sheen. So they improvised. Oil was painted onto dry food to make it look fresh, and hairspray or deodorant was applied when a more matte look was needed. Honestly, all the tricks used in food photography are astounding. It's actually a really cool art. Ironically, although it was initially invented to accurately capture an image of real life, the introduction of color development ultimately led to less of an interest in realistic, authentic depictions of food. A homemade hamburger just wasn't as appealing to look at as a burger expertly crafted by an art director. And consumers started gravitating to brands that showcased their food in an idealized way, the way folks wanted their food to look like, even if it wasn't true to life. This shift completely changed the way humans engaged with the meals they ate. It was no longer enough to simply taste the delicious meal. People wanted to savor these dishes with their eyes, too. Chefs began to consider the preparations of their meal as seriously as they considered the flavor, learning to create visually appealing plates that were a feast for both the eyes and stomach. Food stylists likewise began to experiment with different props, backgrounds, and lighting to enhance and highlight different colors and textures. Food photos were staged to tell a story about the preparation, origin, and cultural significance of their subject, allowing consumers to immerse themselves fully in the dining experience. Brands today are still using these exact same techniques, but advancements in technology have only expanded their playing field. Once upon a time, it was enough to sell an ice-cold bottle of Coca-Cola in a flat, black and white image. Now, Coke has a CGI polar bear and a bright red Christmas sweater convincing you to drink the glass. Today, many companies have a strict policy of only allowing real, edible food in their ads, which means that mashed potato ice cream is fair game. But that isn't always the case. And even modern food stylists have admitted to using non-food enhancements to make their dishes pop in photos and commercials. Need to make a stack of buttermilk pancakes look extra rich and syrupy? Try dousing them in engine oil. Has the skin of your Thanksgiving turkey started to dry out after the third day of shooting? Slap a coat of wood varnish on there to make it look moist and golden brown again. Cereal looking soggy after soaking in milk? Replace that milk with an inedible combination of water and PVC glue to keep your Cheerios looking fresh on film. Then there's all the sneaky props used in staging to make the food appear flawless. If you've ever wondered why the burgers you grill at home look lackluster, it's probably because you're not wedging pieces of cardboard or chunks of a makeup sponge between toppings to make them look less droopy. You're also probably not painstakingly gluing the perfect amount of sesame seeds to the top of the bun. Nor are you using a blowtorch on the edges of the cheese to get that perfect melt. Some food stylists even choose to undercook the burger meat to make it look bigger and fresher. And others might soak the meat in oil to make it look like it's dripping in savory juices. And the list goes on. Legally, there is a limit to how much brands and advertisers are allowed to blur the line between real food that's been expertly styled and a Franken meal presented as an fish. Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act prohibits unfair or deceptive acts or practices. And in the case of food products, any false advertisement that is misleading in a material respect. Likewise, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits any labeling that is false or misleading in any particular way, which basically means that food manufacturers have to list the actual ingredients used and cannot make false claims about their food that have no basis in reality. For example, you can't lie and say that your cookies have less calories or sugar than they actually do just to sell them. You have to list the accurate calorie count and amount of sugar used. And the same legally goes for fast food restaurant advertisements, menu boards, and commercials. You can't trick diners into ordering an advertisement against the IRS and deception. That civil penalty up to authentic.
I thought it was going to be just a single time fight, like I didn't expect that last bit to happen.
No, yeah, he hit me. He didn't hit me that much though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was like 20 or 30k ahead in threat. I was like, oh, there's no way.
He does that. If you're second on threat, like you just have to be ready for a little. That's what it was. But I gambled and I popped a mighty rage hot at the start. So I didn't follow my own advice, and I hopefully it paid off.
Yeah, that's a question.
Yes, it did.
That's good though. Everybody getting position. It's like for winter you get to
Copy, they will be ready to shoot that.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Not sure how I ended up with someone.
What?
Yeah. I can't.
Yeah, let's come back in with somebody.
Yeah.
Alright, Joey Bonzo get triangle, Sharma X, get skull. Joe the Bro gets the skull bang.
This program contains images and videos of extreme violence and offensive language that may be hard to watch. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. May 2nd, 2020. A residential street in the Bronx. A blue Jeep parked for hours
This is
until
an AI voice.
Two men get out of a bright blue Jeep Grand Cherokee. They have corona masks on their face. Both of them have firearms.
the gunmen have one objective: eliminate the target.
Mr. Rosado is coming out of 2522 Holland Avenue. These individuals waited. They were stalking him. They just start shooting at him. He runs a couple steps, he ends up tripping, and he rolls over onto his back. And then you can see him put his hands up like, don't shoot me. But they just unload into him.
Rosado is hit 5 times. It's a bloody execution, with bullets hitting his head and neck.
This wasn't a target of opportunity. This was a planned hit. It's almost reminiscent of some of the mafia hits from back in the day. The CCTV footage was exactly like it. You saw some people with groceries putting them into the trunks of their cars, and suddenly these shots just ring out and everyone jumps to the ground. Any of them could have been shot, by the way.
Francisco Guns Rosado, the body on the sidewalk, was the Bronx president of the notorious Pagans NC. Of the outlaw motorcycle gangs, the Pagans had the reputation of being especially violent.
Mr. Rosado was completely covered in tattoos. His lips, privates, feet, toes, other tattoo. The cops.
While it was easy to ID the victim, the masked assassins were a different story.
The detective with NYPD immediately started suspecting that it was the Hells Angels.
The Hells Angels and the Pagans hate each other's guts. The sight of them would start a fight right then and there. It was on site. It's like the Bloods and the Crips.
The Hells Angels had issued a standing green light order to attack, assault, or even kill any pagan that they encountered.
Since 1977, when they bought their headquarters on East 3rd Street, the Hells Angels have owned Manhattan, and the Pagans ruled the Bronx. But the shit hit the fan in 2019, when the Hells Angels sold their digs and moved uptown.
Hells Angels' New York City chapter has moved its headquarters to this quiet, Throgs Neck neighborhood. The old American Legion building shows signs that the biker group has already moved in and decorated.
Two 1%er clubs existing in the same turf? It's just never going to work.
The Hells Angels would hang up their death head, which is very big signage. They're saying, hey, we're here, F you. We're the Hells Angels, what are you gonna do?
Less than 48 hours later, the Pagans welcomed the Hells Angels to the neighborhood with a rain of bullets.
The Hells Angels had to respond because that was on news networks everywhere. Hells Angels Clubhouse shot at.
Their Throgs Neck headquarters was shot at back in January by the Pagans motorcycle gang.
So they have to come back and be big news media somehow, some way.
Police say it was part of a motorcycle club turf war that turned deadly.
It's hard to feel empathy for him because Rosado shot up their clubhouse. When you shoot up the Hells Angels clubhouse, something bad may happen to you. The Pagans, they're not any different than the Bloods, Christian Latin Kings. They are a violent, secretive organization that is expanding rapidly throughout our country.
Their patch says it all. God forgives. Pagans don't.
I was told I was joining the East Coast equivalent to the Mafia on wheels. If you do not work out, you better get missing.
This whole thing between the Pagans and the Hells Angels is going to come to a head soon. The truth of the matter is people will die when that war starts on both sides.
For over 65 years, the Pagans have roared through society.
When you ride a motorcycle, you feel invincible. You feel like nothing can touch you. It's kind of like a drug.
I used to ride on the back with my father. You don't know the feeling unless you've actually ridden on a Harley. You feel the vibration.
The freedom of just going out and riding as many miles as I can in a day.
But it's not all wind in the hair at sunset.
Pagans Motorcycle Club, I give the credit where the credit is due. They are a true 1% motorcycle club. We don't live by society's normal rules. We make our own rules and we live by them.
Christopher Baker, sentenced to 75 years for trafficking more than 260 kilos of meth into North Carolina. Authorities say Baker, based in Raleigh, was a national leader for the Pagans Motorcycle Club.
The Pagans are involved in drug trafficking, most commonly methamphetamine, but also trafficking guns, and they are known to commit acts of violence.
In one example, an aspiring pagan known as a prospect was alleged to have stolen from another pagan. Baker ordered that the prospect be tortured and his fingers cut off with an electric saw while he forced others to watch.
I have one father and two uncles that are pagans. And I remember playing with dolls and my Ninja Turtle toys. And then the door opens abruptly. It was my dad, he's walking into my house with blood on his shirt.
But the Pagans didn't start out with murderous intent. 1%er Lair is the motorcycle club was founded in the late 1950s by Lou Dobkin.
The information we have seen on the internet is not right. My grandfather, Lou Dodson, he was in the Navy between 1958 to 61. So that debunks him being in leadership of a motorcycle club in 1959. He was a take no shit, but give no shit type of person, and he liked racing.
One of Lou's racing buddies was Sonny Barger, the driving force behind the Hells Angels.
Him and Sonny were actually very good friends up until the day he died.
But Lou didn't want to be an angel.
Sonny wanted you to ride from East Coast to West Coast. And those guys thought, just, no, we're not going to be committed to ride all the way out there. We're going to need the East Coast equivalent to what you guys got on the West.
Lou named the club after his German shepherd, Pagan. On a stash of rare audio tapes, Lou himself describes the Pagans.
Rough around the edges, greasy, shit-kicking hellraisers that believe in the ultimate simplicity of riding and wrenching amongst true brothers.
On nights and weekends, Lou was a thrill-seeking racer. But he was leading a double life. By day, he was a biochemist for the National Institute of Health.
Every man has their family life, and then they have their personal life. Whether your personal life is going and watching a football game on a Sunday, or going and gathering with you guys and going out on a motorcycle.
For their logo, Lou and the Pagans chose the Norse fire giant Sutar from the Marvel comic Journey into Mystery.
Normally you wear 3 patches. A top rocker with the name of your organization, a middle rocker, which would be the symbol of your gang.
They have a Sutar sitting on a sun holding a sword. It's all fiery. It's just a really, really cool looking patch.
Then a bottom rocker, which would claim the area that you're in. For years, they never were bottom rocker because their mentality was they're nomads.
The rule is, if wherever Pagan's foot is, we own.
In 1966, the Pagans are involved in a shootout with a rival gang in a Safeway parking lot. 100 rounds of ammo are exchanged. Lou faces a reckoning.
I worry about the future of the Pagan. There are guys waiting to take over who don't share my original vision. They see the club as a path to power and profit.
His club growing lawless, Lou Dobkin makes an impossible choice, trading his colors for a lab coat.
Tomorrow, I'll just be Lou Dobkin, NIH biochemist. It'll be safer that way, smarter. But damn, I'll miss the wind in my face and the rumble of bikes around me.
Media coverage of the shootout cements the Pagans' reputation as bloodthirsty.
It's rumored that the Pagans are the ones that started the 1% diamond patch and the other clubs wear it.
My father had a tattoo of 1%, and I asked him what it meant. He just said 1% of people are outlaws.
That's just human nature. I mean, you want to feel like you belong to something. You want to be productive. And to have somebody standing next to you that has the same interests creates a bond.
The Pagans' tribe runs on 2 things, gasoline and drugs, particularly methamphetamines.
Meth has always been synonymous with motorcycle gangs because they needed a substance to act as a stimulant for them to ride their bikes a lot longer.
In the good old days, the Pagans would cook their own meth, then sell what they didn't use.
You would see individuals from the Pagans with fingers missing because the process of making meth can be very dangerous.
Pagan purple meth couldn't be touched by anybody else's methamphetamines. Eyes bugging out of their head like a cartoon. People paid high dollar for that purple meth.
For as long as the Pagans have been dealing, the feds have been on their ass.
Between the membership and their associates, they move a lot of drugs. Yeah, there's several documented cases where Pagan members have been arrested for operating meth dogs.
22 Pagans, including 4 of its national leaders, are charged in 1984 for selling meth and PCP. Drugs may be the bread and butter of the Pagans, but they're also big on extortion. Long Island, late 90s. Pagans are squeezing thousands from adult businesses. Those who refuse to pay $400 a week for protection are threatened with violence or arson. The ringleader behind this scheme is chapter president and national sergeant at arms, Keith Richter.
Keith Richter is known in the Pagan Nation as
Conan
the Barbarian.
Conan gets his name from the fearless Marvel Comics character played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Tall, muscular, has his long hair braided and a beard. He looks like a Viking warrior. The man would give speeches and make the hair on your neck stand up. It makes you proud to be a pagan.
I can imagine the energy of Archangel Michael.
Even the Hells Angels say he is a great guy.
Well, the leader of the Pagans motorcycle gang is behind bars on Long Island, Keith Richter.
They were shaking down strip clubs, and this one in particular, the bouncers weren't going to let pagans come in and shake it down.
On the carousel in Huntington. Seems they got a pretty tough bouncer there, and he would beat the pagans up whenever they try to get in.
Conan decides to have the problem removed.
The FBI said among other crimes, Mr. Richter put out a murder contract on him.
Conan the Barbarian goes to prison for attempting and conspiring to commit murder. When he comes out, he will change the course of the pagans forever.
You have the underworld, you have organized crime.
Something might hear. Okay. Hold up. Can you?
United Gangs of America. New season premieres Tuesday at 10. The Long Island Pagans chapter is decimated when 34 members are convicted of extortion and conspiracy to commit murder, including revered leader Keith Conan Richter.
When I saw Conan, I personally am grateful to keep it. Damn, he's big.
We do know that guys can get very big in jail.
With dozens of New York pagans on the inside, the power shifts to Philadelphia, and chapter president Stephen Montervagin, a.k.a. Gorilla.
Gorilla had been a police officer before he became a pagan. Gorilla is a big guy, and he had a lot of presence and authority.
I had met Gorilla a couple of times back in the day when I was working in Philadelphia in the trade unions. He could be your friend or he could be your worst nightmare.
Gorilla is feared, except by the Hells Angels, who are looking to take over the pagans' flagship city. In 2001, when Gorilla is sent to the big house for racketeering, the Hells Angels pounce.
Shut up. Tom Wood, they called him Thinker. He was Gorilla's underman. He was a great dude.
The Hells convince Thinker to do the unthinkable, betray his oath of pagans forever, forever pagans, and become a Hells Angel.
Tom was the strong point, a natural leader, and they didn't want to be pagans anymore, and they wanted to become Hells Angels.
It's close to the ultimate sign of disrespect to join a rival group.
Allegedly, the pagans choose to retaliate at a massive Hells Angel event, attended by Tom Wood and other terrorists.
Police say dozens were injured and one pagan from Lancaster was killed when the pagans invaded a Hells Angels tattoo expo.
A bunch of pagans smashed through the front door and started hitting people with axe handles.
Pagan members have been defecting to the Hells Angels. Pagan members took issue with that and decided to produce a show of force here.
My uncle was definitely front row for that. He was right up there with them, you know, fighting with his brothers, and he did fight the bid from that.
This biker blitzkrieg would go down in history as the Hellraiser's Ball, but the deadliest dogfight is still to come.
Back in 2005, we were at war with the pagans.
As a flagrant FU to his old tribe, a former pagan holds his Hells Angels patch mark at a known pagan hanging. Tom Wood, now the Hells Angels vice president, is in attendance.
We understand they were leaving a bar last night. They were on their way down the Schuylkill Expressway when the shooting happened.
In trying to shield a fellow angel from a pair of gunmen, Wood takes a bullet to the head.
I know a lot of places with Tom. It was a hard time when he was murdered. And he might have been a pagan before, but he was a true pagan.
Sources now say Wood may have been on a hit list compiled by the pagans. All the names on the pagans' hit list are former pagans themselves.
Even after Tom was murdered, there were still ex-pagans that were Hells Angels in Philadelphia. Gorilla, supposedly put a mark on all of them.
Gorilla is questioned, but no arrest is made. To this day, Wood's murder remains unsolved. A few years later, Gorilla catches charges, and as he heads back to prison, Conan the Barbarian gets out.
Yeah, like
Prison
maybe not
for
putting them
criminals is their version of LinkedIn, Facebook, or
They were like
the other
split
networking site out there.
5 years after his release, Conan moves up the pagan ranks. Finally, he's reinstated as National Sergeant at Arms.
The sergeant at arms is usually a very violent individual.
They're the enforcer of the organization. They're the ones that would go out and commit acts of violence for the club.
As National Sergeant at Arms, Conan is one of the 13 ruling pagans called the Mother Club.
Conan didn't like the way that the club was misusing funds. They were going into a direction where the club was losing its balls. That's what I put it.
So Conan's part of the Mother Club, and then at some point he decides to take over.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania. At the annual party held in honor of Mary, the pagan who died at the Hellraiser's Ball, Conan mounts a coup.
Conan zip-tied various guys of the Mother Club and basically threatened them on my way to highway. And those who chose not to were kicked out or forced to retire.
If you were there with Conan the day that they forcefully took over the club, or given up regulating patch.
From a wiretap captured by Rhode Island State Police, news of Conan's takeover travels like wildfire.
Yeah, they took over. They took us down. The most down. Yeah. They told me fucking 12. There's something in now.
When Conan became president with the Pagans in 2018, he created what was called the Blue Wave.
The Blue Wave is what it sounds like, a tidal wave. This is a wave of pagans coming across the country.
The goal was for the pagans to supersede those other groups and to become the #1 outlaw motorcycle gang in their turf.
The Blue Wave aggravated the beef with the Hells Angels and the Pagans because they wanted more territory for themselves. And the Hells Angels didn't want them there.
Conan went in, and he said, I'm going to add another bottom line. And it's going to say East Coast.
Caught on wiretap and heard here for the first time on television, Conan details his plans for domination.
Every state on the East Coast that we're in is going to be ours. We're going to be the largest Big Four club there. So Rhode Island, Mass, Jersey, New York is going to be the toughest fight of all.
With national membership at about 300 pagans, Conan initiates new strategies to bolster numbers.
His idea was to go out to these small towns, have the members join the pagans. They were allowed to keep their own chapter, but now they would order pagans parish.
I got so much shit going on, bro. I got so many people that want to come. All the Thunder God Indians. I got the Rock Machine in West Virginia. I got booze fighters out in Western PA. 5 of the MMA fighters. They all want to come with me.
We started seeing individuals in the pagans who clearly had street gang backgrounds, who were members of Bloods, Crips, or even Latin Kings.
You got guys that are in street gangs coming in and ride motorcycles.
Conan even pulls guys out of retirement and reinstates them, like the indomitable gorilla.
They were two great minds that came together in the motorcycle world, and they just expanded overnight.
Conan's most controversial recruitment method is known as cash for colors.
Traditionally, with the pagans, you would have to prospect, then you would earn your patch after a certain amount of time. Underneath Conan, bikers were allowed to just pay to get all 3 patches, which is unheard of.
You don't have to call them the colors. You rent them. It's $100 at the club, and it's $100 a year to be in the club, a membership fee.
Conan chose quantity over quality. So by lowering the standards, he was now taking in members that maybe wouldn't have made a membership prior to him becoming president.
The pagans had always been a small elite force, and some are enraged by Conan's direction, to the point of defection. Past President Dennis Rooster Katona forms a new group called the Sutar Soldiers.
There are only so many ways to leave a group, right? If you're leaving the pagans and you're starting up a rival group, you're pretty balls to the wall already. You might as well name them Sutar Soldiers.
Conan's goon squad shows no mercy for pagans who jump ship.
Troy Harris is 54 years old. He is an engineer, and he is a former pagan.
In 2018, Harris joins the Sutar Soldiers and is appointed vice president.
respecting gang culture is very important. There's been times I've been disrespected, and you have to do something in order to save face.
One night, Troy is at a bar with his wife Michelle, having a drink.
The door opens, and the pagans were all wearing colors in marked 7 men in a direct single file line right up to Troy Harris. Troy extended his hand as if to shake, and Jason Huff punched him right in the side of the head and knocked him off his bar stool in one fell swoop. Troy was on the floor, and the men had surrounded him and were stomping and kicking him. The pagans absolutely pummeled his brains in.
When we're thriving off violence, it is an absolute adrenaline rush. It's like a pack of wild dogs.
Michelle Harris had to crawl between the legs of the pagans who were actively kicking her husband to try to protect him.
Just knowing that your brother is doing it with you, it's kind of like a father figure saying, "All right, son, it's okay."
When she finally got to him, she found him lying in a pool of vomit and blood and threw her body on top of him, saying, "Really? Seriously?" to try to get them to leave him alone. And one of them looked at her and responded, "The Centaur soldiers." Troy Harris's injuries are so bad that he has to be airlifted to a trauma hospital.
I'll shut them down wherever we can, you know what I mean? I'll never be disrespectful.
Everybody wants to be the most weird thing. You're not a
The Underwood, I think I've organized a crowd.
something right here that sounds like
Just go to these photos and I can see around.
Once you show fear, they're gonna get ready.
Unity Gangs of America.
Left my shadow on this fire.
Conan's Blue Wave increases pagan membership exponentially.
You see those numbers that the pagans bring in, whether it's support clubs, whether it's membership-wise, those numbers are astronomical.
Watch that.
For law enforcement, more pagans means one thing: more problems.
High-speed police chase involving a member of one of the most well-known motorcycle gangs in the U.S. Pagan biker gang members reportedly used individuals several times.
Even Conan himself has a run-in with police.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're her favorite.
We will have bosses everywhere, we will be everywhere, so everybody needs to get used to it, because not everyone.
Law enforcement is on edge, especially since their history with the pagans is long and bloodstained.
In 1982, New Jersey State Trooper John Jacobs initiated a vehicle stop in South Jersey. The driver of the vehicle was identified as Glenn Turner.
Glenn Turner was a very prominent member of the pagans.
Glenn Turner retrieved the handgun from his pocket and opened fire on Trooper Jacobs.
The trooper's hands shoot up to protect his face, and one of Turner's bullets goes through Jacobs' palm, striking him in the eye.
After the shooting, the assailant reportedly abandoned his car in this field and set it on fire, apparently to destroy evidence.
While Jacobs fights for his life, 100 fellow troopers search for Turner. As covered by the local news, authorities get their man 5 days later.
Turner offered no resistance when arrested. He will be charged with attempted homicide, aggravated assault, and possession of a deadly weapon. Police believe Jacobs interrupted a drug run.
At arraignment, Turner's bail is set for $150,000.
Turner then skipped bail and was on the run for approximately 9 months. During that period, he became the #1 fugitive in New Jersey State.
Turner is rearrested in Chase City, Virginia, and extradited to Pennsylvania. At trial, the pagan takes the stand.
Turner said he found himself shooting the trooper after the law enforcement officer saw a cigarette lighter with a pagan inscription.
What else you got, scumbag?
The jury finds Turner guilty. Judge Leon Wingate says it's sentencing.
My only regret is I can't impose a greater sentence than I'm willing to put right now, because I think you deserve every bit of it. Every bit of it.
Every year around that time of the anniversary, Clinton would send that cop a pair of glasses as a memento as you got shot in the face.
Between law enforcement and Conan's army, tensions are at a fever pitch during the Blue Wave.
Now there's more members out and about, hanging out at local bars, committing acts of violence.
Things come to a head one night at a bar in Pittsburgh.
also buy a corner boom from somebody. Okay. That's what I was thinking.
On October 12th, 2018, right on the first page was an article claiming 4 pagans had attacked City of Pittsburgh police officers at Kobe's bar. Something just didn't seem right there.
That day, a chance encounter leads defense attorney Martin Dietz to the bar's owner, Steve Kobe.
I walked into Kobe's bar and was handed a USB thumb drive with over 30 hours of video surveillance on it.
The video is savage. A man is held by his hair as another lands 19 blows to his face.
The first time I saw the surveillance footage, I assumed the pagans were the men assaulting the gentleman up against the bar.
Shockwaves ripple when it's discovered the pagans aren't the aggressors, but the victims. That night, 4 undercover detectives posing as construction workers hit drinks while surveilling a suspected drug dealer.
Their target eventually left the bar and did not return. However, instead of ending their surveillance that night, the police officers continued to sit at the bar and continued to consume alcohol.
On the video, and corroborated by the Pittsburgh Citizens Review Board, the bartender pours Detective Dave Hyde 13 to 15 guns, the equivalent of 30 shots of Jack Daniels.
I can't describe how somebody can consume that amount of alcohol and claim they're on duty and possessing firearms.
The pagans arrive and retreat to the back room. 2 detectives repeatedly try to engage the bikers.
Pagans' attitude towards law enforcement, I mean, it's plain and simple. ACAB. All cops are bastards.
My suspicion was they were investigators. Maybe not paying the fish that we run to land, we may end up with 4 pagans, which, wow, that would even be better.
In direct provocation, Detective Hunt flashes the firearm in his waistband at 2 of the pagans, Mike Zakaitis and Frank DeLuca.
The officers were overheard yelling at the bar owner to throw the pagans out of the club, which pissed the pagans off and made them want to throw out the cops, who they didn't know were cops at that time.
Then Detective Hunt pokes the bear. He puts his hands on the pagan's vest.
The cut means everything to a pagan or any other motorcycle club member. If someone disrespects you and touches your cut, it's a problem.
Uniformed officers arrive. They attempt to defuse the situation. Demanding respect, DeLuca shoves Hunt. All hell breaks loose. DeLuca victorious.
One of the detectives screaming at the feeling. It's unbelievable. The video clearly shows that the uniformed officers actually maced 2 of the undercover detectives.
Taped on home.
It was almost described later as if they couldn't help themselves, but to antagonize and to interact with the pagans.
I don't want to say that law enforcement's a gang, but certain law enforcement officers can seem to act that way.
I love being
These rogue cops no doubt acted with violence because that's what they expected from pagans.
When you deal with gangs or criminal organizations, you'll find someone at the top very, very charismatic most of the time, but they're also very violent and claims clearly capable of violence.
Violence is not just expected within the pagans, it's actually rewarded. For example, if someone goes out and beats up a Hell's Angel or comes back with a Hell's Angel patch, they'll be rewarded with the TCB patch, which stands for taking care of business.
The Hells Angels and the pagans, they both want to be the dominant motorcycle club wherever they are. The Hells Angels, they believe wherever they go, that's theirs. As all do.
Spring 2018. After leaving the Hells Angels clubhouse, Jeffrey Shanks stops for gas and gets his ass beat. The man slinging the pink baseball bat is Hellboy, Conan's #1 enforcer. The exchange of blows between the Hells Angels and Pagans escalates, turning deadly in the Bronx.
The shooting was done by the notorious Hells Angels gang in retaliation after their Throgs Neck headquarters was shot at back in January by the Pagans motorcycle gang. Former Rosado was the leader.
In the Pagans, you're gonna either end up in prison, serve life, or you're gonna end up in the graveyard.
Aware of the ongoing feud, investigators immediately suspect the Hells Angels in the murder of Pagan President Francisco Rosado. Problem being, they don't know which Hells Angels.
A lot of other cases, you have video and you can see the face of the shooter. It's just two masked people shooting Rosado.
With no facial ID, Bronx PD follows the one thing they can, the blue Jeep that was at the scene.
The NYPD painstakingly scours the 49th precinct to obtain video surveillance from homes, commercial buildings, from MTA buses, to follow this blue Jeep.
The blue Jeep pulls into an outdoor parking lot. Surveillance footage shows the driver switching cars and leaving in a black Ram. From a license plate reader in the area, cops get the plate of the black Ram.
And it's registered to Frankie Tootle. Immediately he's becoming a suspect.
Detectives pull the phone records of suspect Frank Loose Cannon Tootle. One number appears again and again. Fellow Hells Angels sign on thumbquat.
The turning point was a space was rented for that Jeep by two masked people. And when they rented that parking lot spot, they provided a burner phone number. That phone number was activated on the mall in Valley Street, Long Island.
Cell site information of thumbquat's phone tracks him going from his house in Queens to Valley Stream.
He's there at the exact same time that that burner phone was purchased at that mall. And thumbquat's phone and the burner phone traveled together right up to the Gun Hill Road parking lot. And then it's just the burner phone on May 2nd going to the murder scene. So now we have our second suspect.
With the two assailants identified, NYPD executes a sweep of the Hells Angels clubhouse and the homes of Tootle and Thumbquat.
At Tutuli's residence, they find a shotgun and a loaded firearm. They also found a fisherman's hat and some hiking gear, which matched the video surveillance of one of the shooters of Mr. Rosado.
Around Hells Angel, we had what we called the 187 bag, black sneakers, black sweatpants, black sweatshirt. You had to take care of something. Black bag went to burn, went to wherever.
It's swords level.
There were so many bitches that were.
Tootle and Thumbquat are convicted of murder in the second degree. The feds have a bigger issue. The Hells Angels view the Pagans as such a threat, they're taking them out.
The DEA was aware of this, and now we started looking into the Pagans.
The DEA receives intelligence that a member of a local New Jersey motorcycle gang is selling narcotics.
Call analysis on this individual's phone showed he was also talking to the Sergeant Lawrence from the Elizabeth chapter of the Pagans, aka JF. Once we got up on Aquino's phone, that would open the door to other wiretaps within the Pagans.
Little do the feds know, this investigation will lead them to the head of the snake.
Typically, when we do a drug investigation, especially a wiretap investigation, we're looking to work our way into the organization, work our way up the chain. We're looking to gather information on what kind of drugs they're trafficking, quantities, weights. So we start with a low-level member. In this case, it was J.I. It was low-level in terms of the amount of drugs he distributed. He had sources that he obtained his drugs from. So now we move on to those sources.
To gain access for electronic surveillance, the DEA submits a Title III affidavit to the judge.
Once we actually get approval from the judge to listen to somebody's phone, that's when it just hits off. You have to listen to the phone calls, the players involved. You can't listen to every phone call. We have parameters to abide by.
The conversation has to be narcotics related. So if he's talking to his girlfriend or something like that, they'll really have to do what's called mitigation.
If somebody's talking to somebody we clearly know it's not about drug trafficking, we can minimize that phone call, and then we can go back on and double check.
For example, in the movie Casino, there was a scene where Robert De Niro's character and Joe Pesci's character needed to talk. So what they did to get around the minimization was they had the wives contact each other, and after a certain period, when they felt the FBI minimized, they then jumped on the phone.
Yeah. You need three.
See this?
How many guys per one load? Yes, of course, you just be there.
When they were done, they just gave the phone back to the wives and they can continue their food conversation.
Look at Tracy is the exact.
Through surveillance and wiretaps, the feds learned that jail's supplier is a pagan named Nicholas Pucciarelli.
Nicholas Pucciarelli was a sergeant at arms for the South Jersey pagan chapter. He was known to traffic in methamphetamine, so we went out to his phone and we're trying to identify who his sources
Yeah, I'm reading your chats and I don't want graphics.
supply is, because that's a way to get higher up into the organization.
Pucciarelli's source is none other than New Jersey's most wanted, Glenn Turner.
Criminal background checks.
On our way back in here to see if we can hit those posts too. With that thing. Club check.
Repair it. You need it? Yeah, we can take that in real quick.
Cool. I'm actually about to end my stream though. That was the end of Blackwing Lair, and I think I'm done for tonight.
Before we start in here, let's check. Let's check again.
All right. AQ40 though soon, so.